Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us in
Thank you for
beautiful
having me.
Marrakech. Maybe for people who haven't seen Under the Volcano yet, you can give us a brief introduction. What can they expect?
This is a very simple film about Ukrainian family that is spending their vacation in Tenerife when the war starts.
And can you tell us a bit about how the project came about? I believe it was, when the war broke out, it sparked something in you and you felt you wanted to express something creatively.
You know, I'm a filmmaker, so the only things I can do in my life is making films. So I decided that could be like my way of like dealing with that topic, and dealing with the war itself. I'm not very brave, so I didn't decide to go there and to help people like physically. So I decided to make a film about the inner state, and yeah, so that was the idea.
And I guess you come from a specific perspective, being Polish, so not from Ukraine, but with that border. So do you think that brings a certain gaze to the topic?
Yeah, if you see like millions of people coming like in a week to your country and how like the streets are different in about like couple of days, you see like millions of women with kids it changed something in your way of thinking because when the war in Syria started, probably the people in Lebanon and Turkey, they went through the same like images, and I didn't expect that it'll happen in my country a couple of years after, and in my life. And so yeah, we never know what's gonna happen next, I mean, like, we're under the volcano all the time, especially now with what Putin is saying, and then Trump is coming on power. So
And the setting of this kind of idyllic holiday in Tenerife, I guess it kind of becomes, like a metaphor for that feeling of disassociation maybe we all feel, that we're reading the news and we see the images, but because of where we are tangibly is so far removed, it creates something quite jarring or a tension. So did the setting itself almost become a bit of a metaphor for that feeling?
yeah, I mean, like, of course, but you don't have to be displaced because of the war to feel stranger in a paradise, and to feel like disconnected from the beautiful reality around you and the people that are having fun. I mean, like, many people like which are suffering and depression, they go into the same kind of state. They cannot connect. They don't really find themselves in the beautiful places. Even though they go into vacation, they don't feel okay. Then they can't really like appreciate what they see around. Yeah, it's not just about the war. I think but it's about the loneliness. I think more than about the war itself, because I'm not showing the images from the war at all.
What's interesting about the tone is, despite it being this very weighty topic, there are these moments of absurdity. So do you think that that tone also plays with that feeling, where even in the most tragic moments, things can also suddenly be funny in a way?
I think to show one color, like let's say black, it will be always more visible on the white wall than on the black wall. So I think to show something tragic, it's always good to show it, and it's very and I show it as an absurd thing, even though it's very tragic. I wouldn't say there are like many moments like that in my film, because in the end it's just like film about the war also. I didn't want to make like a very gray movie, talking just about like and the way of talking about tragic things in a tragic way.
And the characters being this family, and obviously kind of as this tension and this worry and the fear start to set in, the family itself comes under that pressure and starts to sort of unravel or deteriorate. So what did you want to explore through that and through the characters?
I think I was about to explore something like I would call inner war, because the war is not happening like for real, so it's happening inside of them, so it affects the relationship, and then again, it doesn't have to be a war to feel to kind of like to build the tension between people. It could the reason can be different, you know, but this is the reason why the people cannot communicate, why the people are splitting. I just want to catch up this kind of like a very invisible moment of like when the people are kind of disconnecting because of something they are going through something very tragic inside, even though it's not very visible outside, you know, because they're trying to keep being like one piece of family, you know, but it's very hard to hold that.
And how did you go about your casting? I understand the part, the stepmother, you'd seen her in a short film. So how did you discover each of the cast? And I guess, especially when playing a family, it's not just each individual actor. You've also got to think how they work and the chemistry and those relationships need to feel lived in.
So I really feel like Anastasia, she has this different approach to acting than Roman, for example, because they both like professional actors. So I use her like different approach and different presence to build up this kind of disconnection from the family, which is like Roman, Sofia, and Fedir, because she's a stepmom. I kind of fictionalized her presence because of her like different way of being and acting. Yeah, as you said, Sofia I met a year before in Kiev when I was doing a short film, and I said like to myself, okay, she's gonna be great. I don't really have to make any rehearsal. And I let her to record some self tapes. That was it, you know. The Roman, I don't really wanted to work with Roman Wutsky because for me he was like not too much deadish. He was like handsome guy. I would call him like the Ukrainian, you know, Brad Pitt or something. I don't know. But I said like, no, I don't want this guy. He's like too handsome. But then I made this casting for this female role, and then somebody was like, and it was like recorded in a theater in Ivano-Frankivsk in Ukraine, and I didn't really like this girl, but I liked the voice that was in the back, and I said like, who is this guy? I mean, like his voice is the way he's like telling this lines is so good, and it's Roman. You saw him in the picture, and I said, oh man, and then I have to work with him maybe, you know. So I asked him to make his belly bigger and to make
Rough him up a bit.
Yeah, so he was preparing for a couple of months for that. Now he looks completely different. Yeah.
And I understand you improvising as well quite a lot on set. So, how, you know, what was the atmosphere, or what were some of the challenging moments? Did you have a favorite moment?
I wouldn't say I was improvising. I was because improvising is to building up something from the scratch, from nothing, you know, just putting this idea. And so they knew what they're supposed to say. I let them the freedom of the way of saying it, and I just I was observing a lot. So I managed to capture this real moment, this real documentary moments, Fedir's cry and blah blah blah. Yeah, so that was the way I was doing the film.
And ultimately, what do you hope people take away from watching the film? Because, like as you say, obviously it is specifically about the Ukraine war, but it's really about something broader. You know, like perhaps that complete slight delusion that we live in, that we're somehow far removed from. You know, we're safe in the West, when actually, you know, from one day to the next, you know, you can suddenly go from being a tourist to a refugee, or whether we're even talking about something like climate change. You know, that's something that can happen overnight. So is it maybe just tapping in to that thing, that thought?
The film's supposed to suggest to everybody his own like thoughts and suggest his own feeling. I made like more suggestive image than exposed one. So yeah, I'm leaving like a lot of space for the audience, I think, in that case. Yeah.
Do you want people to be sort of dwelling on some of those questions? Why we might feel that tension? It's something about guilt. It's
I mean,
something
like
about
we're living
fear.
in this. I can remember like two opinions of my two friends that I showed the film in the beginning when I was still editing it, and they said after the screening I was really interested what they're gonna say. The first sentence is always the first impression, and they said, I mean, like the world is so crazy and so fucked up, you know. And I said like, yeah, actually, the film is about that.
With Bread and Salt as well, and this one, you, as you maybe mentioned at the beginning, do you use art, do you use film as a way to sort of explore societal issues? Do you feel like that's your role as a filmmaker, the role of cinema?
I don't have any other tool, and I cannot find any other way to. And I'm not very into like storytelling. I'm more into the way of tell the story. I'm not very interested in tell the stories. I'm more into the way how we can tell something very basic in a way that you will never expect it could be told. So that's my approach to cinema.
And if you could just quickly say a few lines about having the film here at Marrakech Film Festival and what you might be doing next.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. I was invited with my first film, Bread and Salt, here, but we decided to have premiere in Cairo. Maybe it was a good decision, maybe not. You will never know that anymore. And yeah, I'm working on my next film. I hope it's gonna happen like next or after next year.
Can you tell us what it might be?
It's about the immigration crisis again. Yeah, but on a Polish border.
Fantastic. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
sharing all that
much.
with me. And really enjoy the rest of your time here in Marrakech. Thank you.